Everything starts with a situation that could completely reshape the future of the New England Patriots offensive line. And it revolves around one name that nobody expected to realistically enter the conversation: Trent Williams. According to league information and statements coming out of the NFL Combine, there is a growing contractual disagreement between Williams and the San Francisco 49ers, and if the two sides cannot reach a resolution, he could become available. That alone should immediately grab your attention, because we are talking about one of the most dominant offensive tackles of this era, a future Hall of Famer, and a player who, even at 38 years old, continues to perform at an elite level. And when you look at the Patriots' current situation, it becomes very clear why this rumor is not just noise. The offensive line struggled significantly, especially in critical moments, and there are still major question marks surrounding key positions. We know that Will Campbell is firmly locked in at left tackle. That is not speculation. That is the plan, confirmed directly by head coach Mike Vrabel, who made it very clear that Campbell is not being moved to guard, center, or anywhere else. He is the left tackle, and the organization believes in his long-term development there. But outside of Campbell, stability simply does not exist. Morgan Moses is approaching 36 years old and could be nearing retirement. There are questions about the future of Garrett Bradbury and uncertainty about how the interior line will look moving forward. The only consistent presence beyond Campbell has been Michael Onwenu, but even then, the overall unit has lacked the dominant, game-changing force that every elite offense needs. Now imagine inserting Trent Williams into that equation. This is not just a veteran addition, this is a transformational move. His performance grades prove it. He posted a 3 overall grade, ranking 3rd in the entire NFL, his run-blocking grade ranked 2nd in the league, and his pass protection remains superior to anything the Patriots currently have on their roster. These are not average numbers. These are elite, franchise-altering numbers, and this brings us to the most important point: protecting the quarterback. Everything this franchise is building revolves around developing and protecting Drake Maye. You cannot develop a young quarterback without giving him time, stability, and confidence in the pocket. Offensive line play is not optional. It is foundational. The Patriots understand this, and it is why offensive line and wide receiver have emerged as the top priorities. Financially, the situation also presents an interesting opportunity. Because of Williams' age and contract situation, the expectation is not a massive long-term deal. Instead, the projection is likely a shorter-term contract, possibly 1 or 2 years, with significant guaranteed money but limited long-term risk. That type of structure would allow the Patriots to immediately improve the offensive line while still maintaining flexibility for the future. However, there is another layer to this. The 49ers have not given up on keeping him. General Manager John Lynch stated that he has had productive discussions with Williams and his agent and emphasized that both sides want to find a solution. That means nothing is guaranteed yet, but the mere possibility that a player of this caliber could become available is enough to force the Patriots to seriously evaluate their options. And this is where things get fascinating from a strategic standpoint. If the Patriots were to acquire Trent Williams, it would give them flexibility. They could keep Will Campbell at left tackle long-term while potentially shifting responsibilities elsewhere on the line. It would immediately elevate the entire unit, improve both pass protection and run blocking, and most importantly, accelerate the development timeline of the offense. Because, let's be honest, championship teams are built in the trenches. You can have talent at quarterback, talent at receiver, talent at running back, but if your offensive line cannot hold up, none of it matters. And Trent Williams is the type of player who changes everything the moment he steps onto the field. The Patriots are clearly evaluating every possible opportunity to improve this roster, and this potential situation represents one of the most impactful moves they could make this offseason. The question now is not whether Trent Williams is still elite. The numbers already answered that. The real question is whether the Patriots are willing to act aggressively and seize the opportunity if he becomes available. So now I want to hear from you. If Trent Williams does hit the open market, do you believe the Patriots should go all in to sign him and completely reshape their offensive line, or should they focus on building through younger players instead? But while the possibility of adding Trent Williams would already represent a massive shift for the offensive line, there is another storyline unfolding at the exact same time that could redefine the entire Patriots offense. And it involves one of the most dominant wide receivers in football today, A.J. Brown. This is not speculation built on nothing. This is rooted in real relationships, real comments, and real signals coming from inside the organization and around the league. It begins with something that many fans may overlook, but insiders understand is extremely important: the personal relationship between Mike Vrabel and A.J. Brown. Vrabel did not hesitate when asked about Brown. He spoke with genuine respect, not just for the player, but for the person. He talked about watching Brown grow, watching him mature, and maintaining consistent communication with him over time. They still text, they still support each other. That type of connection matters more than people realize. especially in today's NFL, where player-coach trust can influence major decisions. Pat's 26, and when you combine that relationship with the Patriots' obvious need for a true number one receiver, the situation becomes even more intriguing. This is a team actively searching for a playmaker. They have acknowledged that reality. They know they need a weapon who can change games, someone who can help accelerate Drake Maye's development and give this offense an identity. And A.J. Brown fits that description perfectly. What makes this even more real is the fact that trade conversations are not being shut down. When Vrabel was asked directly about the possibility of trades, he did not dismiss the idea. He did not say no. Instead, he gave a very measured and revealing response. He said the team will evaluate everything possible to improve the roster. He emphasized that trades involve compensation, negotiations, and timing, but he made it clear that those discussions are part of the process. That is not the language of a team standing still. That is the language of a team exploring options. Pat's 26 at the same time, Patriots leadership has already indicated a willingness to make aggressive moves if the right opportunity presents itself. They understand that elite receivers rarely become available, and when they do, teams must be prepared to act decisively. Waiting too long means losing the opportunity. Acting too cautiously means falling behind. And from a roster-building perspective, the logic is undeniable. Adding Trent Williams would protect Drake Maye. Adding A.J. Brown would empower him. Protection and playmaking stability and explosiveness. Those two additions together would instantly transform the Patriots' offense from a developing unit into one capable of competing with the best teams in the conference. But none of this happens in isolation. Every move requires sacrifice. Every trade requires compensation. Draft picks, financial commitments, and long-term planning all factor into the decision. The Patriots cannot simply wish these moves into existence. They must decide if now is the time to be aggressive or if patience remains the better strategy. And this is where the identity of the franchise is being defined. Are the Patriots ready to accelerate the rebuild? Are they ready to surround Drake Maye with elite protection and elite weapons immediately? Or will they continue building more gradually, trusting internal development and future draft classes? Because opportunities like this do not come often. A future Hall of Fame offensive tackle potentially available. A superstar wide receiver with an existing relationship with your head coach possibly entering trade conversations. These are the types of moments that separate aggressive franchises from passive ones. These are the moments that define competitive windows. The front office has made it clear they are evaluating everything. They are watching, they are listening, and they are preparing for scenarios that could reshape the team's future. But the ultimate question is this. If you had to choose only one move to make this offense better immediately, would you prioritize protecting Drake Maye by pursuing Trent Williams or giving him an elite weapon by trading for A.J. Brown? And this is where everything starts to come together, because what we are witnessing right now is not just a series of random rumors. This is a front office actively positioning itself to make decisions that could define the next era of Patriots football. When Mike Vrabel says the team will evaluate every opportunity to improve the roster, that is not just routine coach talk. That is a signal that nothing is off the table if it helps accelerate the development of this team and, most importantly, their young quarterback. Think about the reality of Drake Maye's situation. Young quarterbacks do not succeed in isolation. They succeed when organizations build the right structure around them. They succeed when they are protected. They succeed when they have receivers they trust. They succeed when the offense allows them to grow with confidence instead of forcing them to survive chaos. Right now, the Patriots are in the process of deciding how aggressively they want to create that structure. Adding Trent Williams would instantly solve one of the biggest weaknesses on the roster. His presence alone would stabilize the offensive line, elevate the performance of the players around him, and give Maye more time in the pocket. Offensive linemen of that caliber do not just perform individually, they raise the entire unit. They bring leadership, experience, and a level of reliability that cannot be easily replaced. Even at 38 years old, his performance metrics show he remains one of the best in football. That is rare, that is valuable, and that is why this opportunity cannot be ignored. At the same time, pursuing A.J. Brown would address a completely different but equally important need. The Patriots are searching for a true number one receiver, someone who can command attention from defenses, create separation, and deliver explosive plays. Brown is not just productive, he is dominant. He changes defensive game plans. He creates opportunities not only for himself, but for every other receiver on the field. When defenses are forced to focus on stopping him, the entire offense becomes more dangerous. And what makes this even more compelling is the human factor. Vrabel and Brown already have an established relationship built on trust and mutual respect. That connection could make the transition smoother, faster, and more impactful. Players perform differently when they believe in the system and the people leading them. That relationship could become a key factor if trade discussions ever become serious. But here is the reality that every Patriots fan needs to understand. These decisions are not just about talent. They are about timing. They are about vision. They are about deciding whether this team is ready to shift from rebuilding to competing. Because once you make moves like signing Trent Williams or trading for A.J. Brown, you are no longer just building for the future. You are trying to win now. And that is what makes this offseason so important. The Patriots are at a crossroads. They can continue developing slowly, trusting young players and future draft picks. Or they can accelerate the process by bringing in proven elite talent. Both paths have risks. Both paths have potential rewards, but only one path can be chosen. The front office understands what is at stake. They know that protecting Drake Maye and giving him weapons will directly influence his development and, ultimately, the team's success. They know that opportunities to acquire players like Trent Williams and A.J. Brown do not come often. And they know that the decisions they make now will shape the franchise for years to come. Now, I want you to be part of this conversation. Do you think the Patriots should go all-in and aggressively pursue elite veterans like Trent Williams and A.J. Brown to accelerate the rebuild? Or should they stay patient and continue building through the draft and internal development? What makes this situation even more critical is the ripple effect that one major move can have across the entire roster. If the Patriots were to successfully land Trent Williams, it would not just solve one position. It would allow the coaching staff, led by Mike Vrabel, to properly align every other piece of the offensive line. Players would move into more natural roles, depth would improve, competition would increase, and most importantly, the margin for error would shrink dramatically. Suddenly, instead of hoping the line holds up, the Patriots would be able to expect it. And that expectation changes everything for Drake Maye. Young quarterbacks often struggle not because they lack talent, but because they are forced to develop under pressure, both literally and mentally. When a quarterback trusts his protection, his entire approach changes. He reads the field more clearly. He stays patient in the pocket. He makes smarter decisions. That is how long-term franchise quarterbacks are developed, and that is exactly what the Patriots must prioritize. Now add the possibility of bringing in A.J. Brown, and the offense transforms overnight. This is a receiver who commands double coverage, a receiver who creates explosive plays even when defenses know the ball is coming his way, a receiver who gives a young quarterback confidence in critical moments. When you combine elite protection with elite playmaking, you create balance. And balance is what separates average offenses from dangerous ones. But there is also a psychological impact that fans cannot overlook. Moves like these send a message to the locker room. They send a message to the league. They signal that the Patriots are not content with simply rebuilding slowly. They signal ambition. They signal urgency. They signal belief in the future. Veterans see it, young players see it, opponents see it, and suddenly the perception